Hi, my name is Sharon Crandall and I am a personality manager. I help people to manage their personalities, traits. And you are born with over 55 traits, and all the traits are positive, but they're also negative. They can be destructive as well as constructive. So it's a good idea to know about your traits and how to work with them so that they will be your asset instead of your liability. So today I want to talk about the trait of insulation. And also I want to talk about the difference between men and women. Now, the traits are not sex-linked per se, but how they manifest are different in men and women, because as I have worked with many, many people over the 35 plus years, there is a real difference between men and women, and there's no getting around that. So men, I think men, I guess you could say, they will take the more of the mechanical side of a trait instead of the emotional side as much. Although there is the trait of emotionality too, and men are more, some men are more emotional than others and so on. But this is more, I guess, manifest in men, I think, seem to emotionally detach. And for good reason, because let's say you are out on the desert and your car breaks down. The woman is more likely to be worried about the children that are in the car and the children that are home, and how this is all going to affect them, and should we call them or can we contact them. They're just more in that realm. And the men think, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with this car? And so they go to work and maybe find some wire or something around that they can use to fix the car. Thank goodness, right? So the difference between men then, in this particular trait, I will talk about this trait. So this trait is if you're thin-skinned or thick-skinned. And the main thing about personality science and being a personality manager is to help people to accept who they are and their variation. So not all men are going to manifest this trait alike, and not all women are going to manifest this trait alike. But there will still be a difference in like a couple, okay? So this trait is measured by your hair. I actually take hair out of your head, and I have a micrometer that I have, and I measure the hair, the follicle of each hair. And the thicker the follicle of the hair, the thicker skinned you are. There's a relationship then between your hair and your thin or thickness of your skin. So the person with a finer hair and a smaller measurement in the follicle of the hair, the more they are thin-skinned. Unfortunately, in our culture, we have this vision that all men are supposed to be thick-skinned and tough, and all women are supposed to be delicate and so on. Now that's changing, which is good. But there still is a difference between men and women. So let's look at this trait and how it works. When you are thin-skinned, even all of the organs in your body have a thinner layer. And so you're more susceptible to weather, you're more susceptible to illnesses, you are more susceptible to emotions that you feel coming from other people. And the thicker skinned you are, the less pervious you are to those things. So the thick-skinned person, they can handle the outdoors better. You know, they don't get cold as easily, and they are, you know, they can handle wool on their skin and so on and so forth. They like sturdier foods. In fact, they need to have sturdier foods. So I have to laugh when I watch some of these programs on nutrition and so on, because they have this like one diet that's supposed to be perfect. Well, it isn't, because a thick-skinned person, they need more meat, more beans and sturdy foods and a lot of it, because they are more robust. And the thin-skinned person, they need more salads and more finer foods and smaller meals, because their stomach, their system cannot take it as well. Now, the problem is we tend to put values on that, and that's ridiculous, because you are who you are, and either you have thin skin or not, or in the middle, or in between, or whatever. And so you need to understand that and know how to work that out. Now, in a marriage, it's tough if one is one on one side of the spectrum or the other, because the thin-skinned person, you know, they want to have a blanket around them, and they certainly don't want the window open at night. And the thick-skinned person does, probably. And so there you have it. You know, if the person who cooks the meals is thin-skinned, they're going to have these little cute little things that they eat. And the thick-skinned person says, "Now where's dinner?" You know, there's so much of a difference. And it's very important to understand the difference, and it's very important that we accept one another and who we are, and do our best to accommodate that as well as you can. And by understanding it, it's very important. I have something to tell you about this trait that's really, really interesting. I met a guy in a waiting room, and he was very thin-skinned, and I could see that. And so I was real curious, because he also was very, very high on the trait of mechanical. And so he said, so I asked him, I said, "Oh, so what do you do for a living?" Because I knew he wouldn't be an auto mechanic or anything like that, because they don't like the grime and the dirt and so on. So I said, "What do you do for a living?" And he said, "I'm a mechanic." And I said to myself, "Oh my goodness, I wonder if he likes it, you know." So I asked him, and he said, "Yeah, I really love it." And I said, "Oh no, well, I know this is true science." And so I thought, now I've got to ask him the next question. So I said, "So do you like the grease and the grime connected with your occupation?" He said, "Oh no, I hate that." He said, I wear surgical gloves, and I hose off my engine before I work on it, and all the other mechanics make fun of me because they say I'm the cleanest guy in town in that occupation." And so I really had to laugh, because that's really true. They have a hard time handling grease and grime and things like that. But I'll tell you something that I think is very admirable about this person. He recognized it, and instead of just suffering and you know, doing his occupation and just hating it and coming home and hating it, he actually made up for it, and was able to enjoy and love his job, and he didn't care if anybody else thought anything about it or not. So I want to tell you about, I want to talk about that a little bit, because it's important that we understand the difference between men and women, and but also recognize that there's variations right within each gender. But you know, men have had kind of a bad rap for a few years, maybe quite a few years now. And I want to set that straight, because men have contributed so much to our society and so much to our lives. I think, you know, you need to look around and see, look at the cars, look at your computers, look at your appliances. How about the plumber that comes out and cleans out your drains and all of that? Yes, women sometimes can do some of those, but most women don't want to if they're really honest about it. And so we need to give credit when credit is due. I saw a interview on TV of a man who knew from the time he was young that what his mission was, and his mission was to invent all sorts of things for hospitals, and he made life so much better and so much easier. I mean, think about this. Every time you go to the hospital or to a doctor, oftentimes there is new equipment and most of that has been brought to us by men. Things that save, you know, a lot of pain. Things that make it a whole lot easier to live. And we need to give credit for that. And there's I'll just close with this one thing, and that is, there was a photo I saw of a woman that was supposed to be she was fierce and powerful, and she looked so great, and she said, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what she said, but she said, I do not need a hero, I do not need a man to be a hero to me when I have my brains and I can be my own hero. And I just had to laugh because I thought, yeah, let's see, if she's stranded out in the desert and with 3 kids, I mean, I bet she would like to have a hero come from the opposite sex to come and help get that situation out. You know, we need both. We need both men and women because we complement each other. And again, it's not going to be the same with every couple, because there's a lot of room for play for various traits, because the traits make a big difference. Like some women are not good with finance, and some are, and some men are not very good with finance, and some are. And so when you work together, you've got to just take each other and enjoy each other's gifts that you have to offer one another. And that is the goal of personality science, is to help people love one another and give credit for each other with what they can do and what they can't do. And then, like, if you both hate yard work, then you get together and you hire that out. But otherwise, a lot of times we can work together by understanding our traits, one with each other, and be able to contribute to the marriage or to the dynamics between us. I love men and what they contribute. I really have learned to appreciate that and appreciate my own husband and what he does. So have a good day, and be sure and subscribe to the channel here. And we're going to have more on this subject because it's a very important subject in today's world. And you're going to learn more about the traits and about our differences and how to capitalize on our differences between men and women. So have a good one, and talk to you later. Thank you.